You know that moment you walk through your front door and you literally just feel your nervous system collapsing. The sun's already gone, that cortisol dip hits deep, and suddenly your sofa feels super magnetic. And before you know it, your evening disappears into a doom scroll that you didn't even enjoy. But what if I told you that evenings aren't designed to be survived? They're designed to be yours. And reclaiming them doesn't require a perfect routine or expensive appointments, and never mind a Pinterest life. It just requires an interruption of the loop. Because most of us actually have the same evening cycle. Home, couch, phone, sleep, repeat. And this isn't laziness, it's just neurology. When your brain is tired, it defaults to whatever feels the most comfortable and whatever is the easiest. This is a protective mechanism, not a personal failure. But here's the empowering part. Your brain immediately responds to the smallest pattern break. Whether it's stepping outside for 10 minutes, going to see a friend, or dropping off a parcel, reading a chapter of a book you've left for a wee while, or maybe planning next year's trip, and never mind starting a craft project you've been thinking about. They're not just random acts, they're micro interruptions. They shift your brain out of autopilot into intentionality. So this week I thought I would take you along to what my week actually looked like, and to be honest, this was just a normal random week in my life. Some of the days were life admin, some bits a little bit more fun, and things that I did for myself that, you know, calmed me down and made the week feel a little bit softer. But each night I tried to do one thing to remind my brain that this night belongs to me too. So this video isn't about productivity, it's about nourishment, the kind that your nervous system will genuinely benefit from. Because when we stop wasting our evenings, we stop wasting the time that's meant to refill us. So next time you're feeling a little bit of friction when you're trying to do something just for you, ask yourself, what would I be doing right now if I didn't have a phone or a telly? Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Alexandra, and around here we don't gatekeep. I bring you science-backed content and practical and actionable ways to help you build a life that feels as good as it looks. This is your space to grow and actually enjoy the process. Let's reclaim those evenings together. Happy Monday. Today is a class day. I'm going to the Strong Girls Club, so I'm just about to get changed and hit the road. You know, I think we underestimate how biologically hard Monday evenings are. Your brain is still shifting out of the weekend mode, and that transition actually takes more mental energy than we realise. There's a concept in behavioural science called the switching cost, the cognitive load of moving from one state to another, and Mondays unfortunately carry the highest of the entire week. So if you ever feel like the evening just slips through your fingers, it's not because you lack discipline, it's because your brain is literally recalibrating after 2 days of unstructured time. And what makes evenings even harder this time of the year is the cortisol dip. So around 5 to 6 p.m, our cortisol naturally falls, and in the winter, the early darkness intensifies it. When cortisol drops and melatonin rises earlier, your brain starts nudging you into passive behavior like scrolling or collapsing onto the sofa. Not because you're lazy, but because your circadian rhythm links you're winding down for sleep. So reclaiming your evening starts with understanding that nothing is wrong with you, your physiology is just following its script. And that's the class done and dusted, in the bag. Monday's pretty much ticked off, and this is something I really like doing for starting off the week, but also just in general because I work from home, right? I don't really have that kind of social aspect. Of course, I have a lot of calls during the day, but I don't actually speak to many people. So even going to the class and just having that kind of social aspect there and being around people was really nice. And the fact that it's booked, I know I will go because A, it's scheduled in my calendar, but B, I also paid for it. And also the fact that I'm around people and I've got like a PT around me means I push myself more, because if I go to the gym by myself, I tend to have a decent workout, but I don't push as much with weights. So like today I did 100k on the leg press, and I probably wouldn't have done that if I was, went by myself to the gym. So I'm really happy. Plus, like, even when I'm on like the last 2 reps, like today for example, Chloe's like, just keep going. Like, she just stood there and like cheered me on, which is so nice. Whereas if I was by myself, I would have just been like, I'm done with it. And here's the good part. When you insert one intentional cue into your Monday, something that's booked or something that's pre-decided, you bypass the need for motivation. It becomes a triggered habit loop rather than a choice. And your brain loves when something is already decided for you because it eliminates decision fatigue. This is why booking a class, prepping a bag, or having a non-negotiable plan completely shifts the energy of the night. It lowers activation energy, increases perceived accountability, and gives you that tiny spark that keeps you from falling into the default pattern of doom scroll, snack, and sleep. Mondays don't need to be glamorous, they just need one intentional anchor. One of the most underrated ways to reclaim your evenings is actually movement, but not in the traditional push harder sense. It's more about understanding how your nervous system works. So after a full workday, especially when you work from home like me, your sympathetic nervous system is still slightly activated. Your brain has been on all day, and the last thing it wants is another decision. Movement helps complete that stress cycle, signaling to the body, okay, we're shifting states now. And there's this fascinating concept in psychology called social facilitation, the idea that simply being around other people who are doing the same thing lowers the perceived effort of the activity. That's why classes feel easier than a solo workout. Your brain mirrors the energy of the room. The collective momentum makes the barrier to entry feel a lot smaller. And sometimes, especially on a Monday, that's exactly what we need. Not discipline, not motivation, just proximity to people who already have the energy we want. But reclaiming your evenings is not about being productive, it's about giving yourself a structured container where your brain doesn't drift into passive habits. When you've had a long day, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning and self-control, is tired, and tired brains make easy choices, not meaningful ones. So the trick is to create pre-decided cues that bridge the gap between work you and evening you. Having your bag packed, your shoes by the door, or a class booked is not trivial, it's a habit design. It's using your environment instead of relying on willpower, and the more you build those little systems, the easier it becomes to break the pattern where evenings feel like they disappear before you've even had a chance to enjoy them. Welcome to Tuesday afternoon or evening. I guess it's pitch black, so who knows what the time of the day it is. So tonight's plan of action is a lot of self-care and looking after my body and actually resting. And this is because I can tell I have loaded quite significantly yesterday at the gym class. My hips and my glutes, my hamstrings just feel so tight. So once dinner's finished, I am going to run myself a bath and have a proper pamper night. Now I absolutely love having a pamper night, especially like midweek. It just feels like a little treat. I use it to do like my hair mask, my face mask, and like dye my brows and stuff like that. I am going to try, maybe not this week, but very soon, to do like a lash lift and tint. I've never done it before. I've had it done, like at a salon, but I am going to attempt it myself and see how that goes. Tuesday evenings have such a different energy. They're softer, they're calmer, and honestly, more forgiving. The science behind that is actually really interesting. By Tuesday, your cortisol rhythm has stabilized again after disruption from the weekend, which is why you often feel more grounded and capable, even if nothing has really changed in your workload. And evenings like this, slower, sensory, nurturing evenings, are deeply regulating for the nervous system. Warm water, dim lighting, low stimulation activities, they all support the natural rise in melatonin, which starts increasing 2 to 3 hours before your ideal bedtime. We spend so much time trying to optimize our days, but actually evenings are where our bodies does the majority of its restoration, balancing hormones, repairing tissues, and consolidating memories. Now, when you choose slow rituals, so for example, caring for your skin, stretching out your muscles, reading instead of scrolling, you're helping your brain shift out of that hyper-stimulated state we all live in at the moment. The thing is, your brain is addicted to novelty. Social media hijacks the dopamine pathways by giving you a tiny, unpredictable reward every single time. That's why scrolling feels easier than running a bath or opening a book. But dopamine resets when you give your brain slower sensory input. It's not just relaxing, it's literally rebalancing your reward system. And the best part is, it doesn't need to be aesthetic to be effective. You don't need a candlelit bath or an hour-long routine. Even 10 minutes of intentional care tells your brain, I'm safe, I'm home, I'm slowing down. To do my brows, I'm going to use the Allure dye brow kit and some Vaseline, and honestly this little bad boy is so versatile. I usually put this on at night on my lips, but today I'm going to put it on the skin around my brows to basically prevent it from not just smudging but actually staining my skin in case I was to leave that on for too long. So yes, this is like the best investment, and it's like only £1. One of the easiest ways to make evenings feel meaningful again is to stack habits onto things you already do. If you're already showering, add a hair mask. If you're already in comfy clothes, do 2 to 3 minutes of stretching. When you reduce friction, your brain is far more willing to say, yes, let's do it. You're not reinventing your routine, you're simply elevating what naturally fits into your life. And this is why us women absolutely love an everything shower, because once you start one thing, it cascades into all the others. Anytime I put this stuff on, I'm like, my eyebrows look absolutely terrifying, like they're huge caterpillars. She's looking very bold, but you gotta trust the process. So this is on another note, because I'm putting my hair mask in, I'm being a little bit strategic because I'm going to go get my hair done this week as well. And typically I used to do it like all the way around. I'd be waiting until I would get my hair done and then like do a nice hair mask. But now I've realised that why was I doing this backwards? Because in a way, if I'm doing bonding repair beforehand, my hair will be in a better state going in for colouring. And that's what they're looking like after, and honestly they actually turn out quite soft, so I have quite a light complexion, so even though I'm using a dark brown tint, it doesn't come out too bad for me. I once tried black and that was a bit too much. I was giving a bit of like Morticia Addams vibes. Something I've realised is that evenings feel better when you have a sense of identity attached to them, and this is not about being the girl who grinds after work, it's about the girl who actually enjoys her evenings. Micro rituals, so for example doing your brows, brushing out your hair, or oiling your hair, putting a face mask in, a hair mask, or reading a chapter of a book you've been meaning to start, they literally create a rhythm that your brain starts to recognise. And that recognition becomes safety, and safety becomes calm. When you build a gentle evening identity, you're not forcing yourself to relax. You're allowing your body to unwind the way it's designed to, and there's something really beautiful in that. I also think we're all very guilty of treating ourselves to things at the weekends. So for example, having a bath or doing something just for you tends to happen at the weekend, and then when it happens, when you get to the weekend, you're almost running out of time because you're trying to tick off all these things that you wanted to do for yourself. Happy Wednesday! Tonight's plan of action is to go for an electrolysis consultation. So if you don't know what electrolysis is, it's essentially a step up from laser hair removal, and it uses an electrical current to essentially penetrate into the hair follicle and stop it from growing back. I think one of the key advantages of using electrolysis is the fact that it can target all hair, so it's not just dark hair, whereas for laser, for example, it's better if you've got dark hair. So we'll see. So one thing that I didn't know about electrolysis is the fact that you actually have to leave some hair, whereas for like laser hair removal, I think you need to be shaved. So I had to leave some hair and make sure that the person can actually see what they're working with. By Wednesday, your brain is genuinely craving a pattern break. Midweek is when cognitive load peaks. You've literally spent the last 48 hours making decisions, solving problems, and regulating your behavior, and your prefrontal cortex is tired. That's why the evening can feel flat or uninspired. But doing something that takes you out of your usual environment, even something tiny, will reset your brain through a process called context switching. New environments trigger novelty pathways, and novelty activates healthy dopamine. It's like telling your nervous system, we're shifting gears now. It's one of the simplest ways to reclaim an evening you'd otherwise lose to autopilot. And we're back in the kitchen. Today we're going to make some granola. Now this is not an exciting recipe, but I love trying a new recipe. I also love having something, pre-planned and pre-made for my breakfast, and this is such a good source of fibre, but also all the kind of hidden goodness for your brain and your skin. And it will literally take us about 25 minutes to make, so it's perfect for those that, are tight on time and still want to eat well. I think there's something so underrated about weekday appointments. It doesn't matter whether it's an electrolysis appointment like mine, or a nail appointment, or even just nipping out and doing your partial run for Vinted. It's the fact that you're interrupting your usual after work loop. Now, if you're working from home or if you work very long hours, your brain uses environmental cues to know when a chapter has ended. And without a commute, if you're working from home or if you've literally just been knees deep in a very busy project, there's no built-in transition for you to relax. So stepping outside or even doing something different for your evening, something small, creates a psychological boundary between the workday and your personal life. And when you come back home, there's a subtle sense of momentum. You've already done one thing for yourself, so doing another, like making something nourishing, even something simple as homemade granola, feels easier. That's the effort reward loop. When your brain gets a win, it becomes more willing to repeat the behaviour. These little investments shape your identity. They tell your brain, even midweek, I matter. And that makes the entire rest of the evening feel more intentional, even if all you do is sit down with a bowl of something warm and literally unwind. So while I wait for food, I thought I would give you a little bit of a debrief after the electrolysis session. So there's a couple of things, I suppose. First one being that it is of course a commitment, but the other one is if you're getting it done, you need to leave the hair like in between the sessions, and you shouldn't get it done more frequently than like once a week, because you're essentially putting like an electrical current through your body. Now with that being said, I got some of my chin done, so ever since I got to my late 20s, I literally just started to grow like darker hair like out of nowhere, and I think I must have had like a hormonal shift in my body and stuff like that. And it's interesting because we as women almost get like treated, or there's this conception that like body hair is not normal for us, even though it is. Anyway, I started to tweeze it out, and it's gotten to the stage where it started to grow back really fast and like super dark. So I got the IPL. The IPL did some of the job, I would say, but not all of it. Hence why we're now going for a bit more extreme measures of like laser hair and electrolysis. Now with the electrolysis, it almost feels like someone's like tweezing your hair out. It's a very strange sensation. It's just like very nippy. Now in case you're wondering what this looks like, so it's just very bumpy and very red at the moment. It almost looks like I've got a bunch of spots, but it should die down, but I also shouldn't be touching it or putting any moisturizer on or anything like that on it tonight. So there wasn't really like a time or a place for me to like take my camera out. I also appreciate people don't really like being filmed, so I didn't film within the salon, hence why there's very little footage. But for the time being, I need to just check how the area is and see how it feels, how fast it's starting to grow back. So I lied, it's not even 20 minutes. In total, it should take you about 15. So with the timer being about 10 to 12 minutes and with the prep time being about 3 minutes, because literally all you have to do is just chuck everything in the bowl and mix and then pop it in the oven. Now, I love doing a recipe during the week, particularly when it comes to like baking and putting something in the oven, because the house smells unreal. So for me this week, this doubles as my breakfast for tomorrow onwards. So this granola recipe makes about 5, so I'm gonna have some for the weekend as well, which is great. So, you know, don't have to worry about it. And I know with purchasing things like nuts specifically and things like almond butter, you don't have to use almond butter, you can use any butter you want, but I appreciate it's a little bit more costly. However, with doing it by scratch, or from scratch rather, you know exactly what's going into that food. And ever since like in the last few months, I have been looking at, you know, packages at the back for everyday like foods, and the amount of them that have things like gum and just things that we don't digest, I was just genuinely shocked. So, you know, doing it myself, at least I know how much sugar I'm putting in and what exactly is going into my breakfast. So today's plan of action for this evening is to go get my hair done, and I'm running behind because I attended a meeting that overrun a little bit, so I'm literally just running to my car to get to Dunfermline. And luckily the car isn't frozen over, and I'm honestly so happy. I feel like there is a God, there is a higher being, honestly, thank God. And we made it on time, just. Thursday evenings are the perfect moment to invest in yourself midweek. Science shows that small acts of self-care, like getting your hair done, activate the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering stress hormones and giving your brain a restorative reset. By choosing to be a little indulgent during the week, I free up my weekend for connection, so seeing friends, family, or organising date nights, instead of filling it with life admin. Happy Friday, and just like that, we're at the end of the week, and I've been looking forward to this literally every single day. So we're going for a wee Friday night date night, and honestly, I have been dying to like do my hair and do my makeup and like just go out and spend time with my other half. And I honestly think having something to look forward to on like a Friday straight after work is the best, because you're already in like a good mindset going into Friday as it is, and knowing that you have something to just finish off your day is like shifts. So yeah, a little bit of a contrast in terms of what you've been seeing me like this week, and yeah, I'm super excited. We're going to go get an Indian and then go for a few drinks and yeah, just spend time and like kind of debrief from this week. I've had quite an intense week at work. I feel like the last, like this quarter specifically, has just been a lot, and I'm really looking forward to Christmas. But Christmas is almost a month away, so I need to make the most of what I have now, and those little nights are things that will recharge me in the meantime. If there's one thing that I've learned this week is the fact that lighting around my home is quite poor. And when I say poor, it's like obviously you can see fine, but when you're having to film, it's so dark. Anyway, I thought I'd show you what I'm wearing because it's been absolutely Baltic this week. I'm wearing a knitted top and I've got like a skirt, a leather-like skirt, and I'm going to put some boots that are heeled. There's something so grounding about having a Friday evening plan, especially something joyful like a date night. Anticipation activates a different dopamine circuit than scrolling or stimulation will ever do. It's slower, healthier, the type that lifts your mood throughout the day, not just for a split second. And ending the week with connection, whether it's with someone you love or even just with yourself, signals to your nervous system that the week is complete. It turns Friday from a day you survive into a day you get to savor. If you noticed, a little pattern this week, 4 out of my 5 evenings actually involved leaving the house, and I work from home, so this makes an even bigger difference for me. I strongly believe that stepping outside your home is one of the simplest ways to protect your mental health. Now, of course, we are creatures of habits, so the longer we stay in the same environment, the longer we actually stay in the same cognitive state. But even if we change our surroundings for just a moment, very briefly, this literally just changes the gear within our brain. Your cortisol eases, your dopamine resets, and your evening suddenly feels like yours and not just an extension of your workday. Reclaiming your evenings isn't about doing more, it's literally about doing something, literally anything to bring you back to yourself. Whether that's a walk, running yourself a bath, or reading that book, going to see someone you love, or just being more intentional about your time rather than defaulting straight to the couch as soon as you get in the door. It's about nourishing your body and actually doing things that will bring you joy rather than doom scrolling and wasting your night away. So I actually have a lot more little projects going on, particularly when it comes to crafts. Like, I am quite a creative person. I have a lot of things that I'm doing for my wedding and for my bridal party and stuff like that, which I would love to show you. However, I can't showcase this on YouTube just yet because the people that are getting little bits and pieces then will know exactly what they're going to get, and it's not very fair. But I do want to do a part 2 of this video. And of course, YouTube is part of those little projects. I try to edit and film as much as I can during the week, so then I don't end up with a huge bottleneck when it comes to putting the video together. Now, for me, these things are easy because I enjoy them. This doesn't necessarily mean you need to go and start doing 100 craft projects right now, but you just need to think about what will let your brain like rewire and recharge for the next day. So for example, I work in regulatory affairs. This is very heavy in terms of, you know, science and kind of regulatory language and writing and reading. So doing something that takes me away from that recharges my brain for whatever I have to do at work the next day. Your evenings don't have to be perfect to be meaningful. They just need to be yours. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!